Welcome at long last, RPG Limit Break fans, to the Final Fantasy Randomizer X Final Fantasy Mystic Quest Randomizer AP Tournament Swiss Round 2 featuring Fried, Tenacity, and The Last In. I am Thavianok. With me in the booth today, Ico Comms, Possum Morpheus, with our tracker duo, Odoron and Razor One, and our restreamer, Dark Moon EX. Possum, what do we got going on? It's been fun getting it set up, but we finally have something to actually show for it.
Well, we have fourth time as a charm. We have our runners who have been put through a bit of a blender here by some tech issues, but hopefully that is all behind us now. So our runners, well, they're going to get to do battle with some fantastic randomizers that they hold near and dear to their hearts. But more specifically, we have our FFR players starting with a fighter and a red mage. That fighter, the big thing is they're going to have somewhat elemental plus magic, which is cool. The red mage is going to have some tele magic, which is always awesome. And our Mystic Quest runners, they're basically going to be looking at a couple of good companions here. Pretty much anyone but Ruben will work, since they all have flair. Tristram's going to be the really hot one because Exit is accompanying that as well. But looks to be a pretty decent start, all things considered, for our runners.
Indeedly do. The balance of the parties, honestly, over the past fails has been mixed, but I think they finally got the seed they really wanted. But we'll see how it actually plays out. Anyone who tuned into our race earlier today saw immediate floater for the Final Fantasy Randomizer crew, which immediately caused chaos for those runners, as the Mystic Quest crew were like, where do we go, what do we do?
Yes, the answer is yes. When you're given everything, you just go do whatever you can that makes sense for you and your teammate. But we shall see how things play out here, whether it's going to be a bit of a jetty start, whether it's going to be one where our runners have to think a little bit more. It does look like on the Mystic Quest side, we are starting with a sword. So that is a pretty limited weapon early on, actually. It doesn't open up all that much. You'd really like to find a claw, a bomb, or an axe. Sword kind of just doesn't do a whole lot. The river coin, though, does open up a second area, much like the river to Melmond opens up a second area. And so, our runners are going to be able to go through and explore a little bit right away, with the canoe as well on the FF1 side. So lots open right away for our runners to dabble with.
Indeedly do. And we are off. Gonna get a quick look at the magic. You got a red mage, so you can get some of the red and the black magic. Fire 3, that's an opening sweeper on top of the fighter coming with the plus elemental magic. And Cure 4 and Heal 2. So the early magic is pretty solid, but the Cure 4 I don't believe is learnable by the red mage, unfortunately.
Yeah, a bit of a downside there, but someone, hopefully, for our FF1 players will be able to learn that. Looks like we have a couple of varying routes here. Hatox is going and peeking a couple chests in Pazuzu's tower. There are 2 Sphere Zero chests in Pazuzu's tower that our runners will have access to. Meanwhile, we see, well, that Chimera is going to be potentially difficult, but it should only be a solo Chimera, which Ruben might be able to dispatch. And in one swing he does, so it's a nice little level there. Those 2 boxes, Jumbo Bombs and Blizzard. The Blizzard doesn't really do anything. The Jumbo Bombs are huge early on for Hatox there. And 10, meanwhile, deciding, do I want this Kaylee? Says no, and has already gone over to the Fireberg area, so is not going to have those Jumbo Bombs from Pazuzu's tower. So early advantage to Hatox and last team in.
Yep, and meanwhile, Mechlin has made his way to Toph, checked the top 2 boxes, didn't find much there. Did find a Thor hammer, so that's going to be good for the teammate, or for their teammate, but all the AP checks there. Opal armor, I mean, if you can promote the knight, that's solid gear. Until then, Fire 3 going to take down Garland. Nope, just wait Fire 3, forgetting that he has that magic on that fighter, it seems, but 2 cast of Fire 3 does it. Bat blocked by the bats. Unfortunately, since, we have hint bats, so the bats, instead of talking gibberish until translation, You can check with these bats and you'll get info on what fiends you'll be fighting.
Interesting. I saw Bubbles in there was one that I recognize. Bubbles has been a bit of a savage in some of our former races, so we'll see if that trend holds true again.
Yes, she has a very brutal harpoon.
But we see some early Bone Dungeon plays out of Hatoxis makes a lot of sense. Having those bombs allows you to just kind of dive right in here, and as long as you have a character who is more than level 9, I believe it is, or at least level 9, you are able to cast Life on the first boss down here, Flamerous Rex. So Ruben is going to have Life accessible basically from the beginning, so this is a free boss, and a lot of checks early on for Hatox that 10 is not going to have on his side. So we'll see if that advantage from having those jumbo bombs can be pushed further for Team Last Team In.
I mean, I think it's very appropriate that the runner with the cat sprite has the very destructive item early. Meanwhile, on the Final Fantasy side, both of our runners went to Matoya's cave to check those first 3 boxes. The second box happened to have some a gator and some Kareebs, and those Kareebs were not happy. They had lightning magic. Fridge getting through it. Meanwhile, Mechlin wiping out and going back in. Finds a Fire 2 sword. That's not just a good weapon, that is a caster item. You'll see that most of our weapons have been renamed to be a spell, and they will cast it.
Yeah, it's really cool having the availability of items that are casting spells. You can get anything from, Quad X to Cure 2. You can get Harm 3. Lots of really nice stuff on there. Temper, Fast, etc. So a lot of really good things potentially for our runners. We see some Tier 6 spells. Looks like Saber at Tier 6, but probably not super relevant. You'd want to rely on Power Gauntlets for that anyway. But we will get a Sage's Circle check here as well. It's an AP item, and looks like Fried Potato is aggressively resetting these AP checks as well. Once they go through, you can reset. The client stores that information in there, so even though you reset out of the check, it doesn't really matter.
Indeedly do. One of the fun things about how AP works to synchronize, once the item's in the AP pool, it don't matter. Pardon the technical difficulties, we're getting our AP window back up. The beauty of how this randomizer and our restream goes, we actually have more intel than we'd ever had before, so we must enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots and lots of information available. And it looks like, I think the only thing really of note that I've seen so far was an Apollo helm picked up. For armor, I believe that was in the volcano. Didn't really catch a lot of what came out of Bone Dungeon on the Last Team Inside, but doesn't seem to be anything super impressive.
Nope, hopefully we will have something to see there. And we see Melmond at Elflin, and there was Fast at level 5 magic. That's something they really kind of want to have. Unfortunately, that Fast was slot 3, and for anyone who played the original game, you get to Melmond and you're like, oh my god, I can get Warp, and then you realize you can't because Warp is locked behind promotion for the Black Mage, and I don't believe a Red Mage or even a Red Wizard can even learn it, so gotta find a Black Mage and promote if they want to get that spell. At least more charges of it, because the Red Mage actually has 2 charges of Warp and Exit.
Yeah, and those charges of Warp and Exit, the tele magic that naturally comes with is pretty huge. That's just a really nice way to get out of annoying dungeons like Marsh Cave, for example. Really nice to have. Getting out of Sky if you're not planning on, offing Tiamat. It just can be very, very helpful. Speaking of helpful, we see a Libra crest show up on the side of Fried Tenacity. That is potentially a required item. On the Mystic Quest side, Crest Shuffle is on, or Warp Shuffle, however you want to phrase it. And that means that your dock access to get to the end of the game is what normally would be through the Mobius crest is now through one of the 3 crests, and you don't know which it is ahead of time.
Speaking of promotion, we get a tail for one of our teams.
And a tail, and also
South Libra Temple.
Yep, the Libra Temple is where Phoebe would be in vanilla, and then also we have, I believe, yeah, the White Seal, which is really nice. White being basically holy magic, is quite helpful. And then the Thunder Rock, which is another required piece of Go mode, was picked up as well. So a lot out there in the way of potential goodies for our runners. When you see Hitak saying, "I will take this Kaylee and run with her," going to lean on some of her early magic as well.
As for solid gear coming into the FFR side, we see an opal bracelet picked up from the Ice Pyramid. That is the best armor you can put onto your casters, generally speaking. No extra elemental protection, but extremely good absorb.
And speaking of Marsh Cave, unfortunately for Fried Potato, goes down in Marsh Cave. Could not quite get a Lit 3 off to take out all of the enemies. It looks like Mechlin having a little bit better time, but Marsh Cave, well, that's where so many vanilla runs went to die.
Sometimes the randomizer makes Marsh a little less painful, but given the number of encounters of different types and how those encounters can have bad things on them thanks to the randomizer, it can actually be substantially more scary in the randomizer. The sheer variety of encounters.
And that's Scorch Werewolves. That's less than ideal.
Yeah, I think we saw some cremate bones earlier as well. So Marsh is full of some hot things.
Some hot garbage, but that's usual for Marsh.
But I didn't think Trash Island was competing in this event. One of our Final Fantasy Randomizer co-op crews.
Ah, gotcha. I was in the dark on that joke, but you brought me to the light, so I appreciate it.
They often are a dumpster fire, as is their title. But we approve of their talents. Either way, Apollyon Helm being picked up for the other side, so both racers in Mystic Quest have that nice bit of gear.
Yeah, and the Apollo Helm is where our runners pick up fire resist, so it is decent. It's probably the least impactful of the defensive items, but if you're going to get stuck with one of the helms, it's best to have the best of them. Looks like we have Lit 2, Lock, not really a ton going on in that black magic shop, but maybe something for white magic. Life 2, that's a whole lot better. I think our runners will be very happy to see that.
Yeah, that is Red Mage learnable immediately, and that will be Knight learnable come promotion. And having a Knight with Life 2 on it is pretty sick. Invis, nice. Harm 4, can't learn that, and it won't do extra damage with the Red Mage. But I gotta point out, you mentioned it earlier, there is a map mod, the River to Melman, which is where this Elfland ended up being. Not normally something you can do. This peninsula is normally just cut off until you get the until you get either the floater or the shipping canal. So our runner Potato definitely taking advantage of the map mods to to go to places you normally would not go to in the normal game.
Yeah, we also see one thing Potato is doing compared to Mechlin is resetting out of a whole lot more things. Has been very aggressively kind of orphaning the, I guess, XP he's been picking up in favor of just finding more stuff more quickly. We'll see if that ends up benefiting him in the end or not. But we do also see a bunch of tempers temper sticks being picked up. I think that's enough for every single character to have one.
Yep.
So
They
that's
were
nice in
sub
the long run.
Yeah, at sub 100 gold, being able to get 4 temper cast items, no charges required, is huge, especially if you tend or want to take this fighter slash knight to the end game.
And
Potato
so
going to go with the marsh pre-rod dive. There's a few chests, but they're very spread out until you get to the armory, and even then, it's by no means the densest. Meanwhile, Mechlin in the river system goes to Crescent, finds Lefane.
yeah, I was gonna say this rodless earth play has not been a popular one for a lot of the runners I've seen doing this. But again, that's another situation where Potato just opts to get the item reset and just kind of running through everything he can. And eventually maybe we'll get some XP or another character, who knows? But for right now, just trying to get as much on the table as possible. Well, Mechlin is taking what I would consider a more, I guess, traditional approach of trying to clear as much as possible, keep that XP, keep those items, etc. So it's definitely a tale of two strategies on the FFR side. While on the Mystic Quest side, it's kind of a tale of who has bombs and who doesn't, because our runners have diverged massively as a result of those early bombs that Hitox got, and 10 having to do a bit more labored playing, not having access to those bombs.
Indeedly do. Mechlin, with the move to Volcano, has a lot more chests in close proximity, but he also has to worry about the encounters because, I mean, Earth can be annoying, similar to Marsh, but Volcano? That could just be brutal. That is steel armor +4 on that fighter. I mean, it's not going to be able to dodge worth a dang, but the absorb on that is incredible. That's pretty close to endgame weapon or armor.
Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. Very good protective gear. I'm very happy to see that, and thank you to X Pancras with a raid over and bringing the folks in. We are off to a bit of a late start here, but we do have Fried Tenacity versus the last in doing battle in the FFR X FFMQR Archipelago event. So welcome on in, everybody, and to those who have been here, we are probably 15, 20 minutes in at this point, I want to say.
Yeah, 10-15 minutes totally. Ooh, we found the ship on one side. That is a good item. That is mobility outside the map, but we don't have a canal yet, so no mobility outside the map.
Now, in this situation, I was kind of curious. I would wonder if we might get a hint for either a floater or a canal pretty soon, knowing now that a ship has been found.
Well, that is definitely intel that Mechlin and Hitox could use. Meanwhile, Potato and Ten's totally different location, at least for Potato. In fact, far side of the continent. There is a Libra crest picked up by the last in, and the canal has been found, but it's for the other team. So one team has access to the oceans, the other team has a way to get there.
That's really interesting, having the ship in Volcano and the canal in Earth, because you generally want to do one or the other pretty early on, and then like kind of get out and do the rest of the stuff. But you might just be forced in this situation to do both before you can actually leave the inner sea on the FFR side, which is pretty interesting. And likely to be the way out, because the floater probably not going to show up in the inner sea, knowing that the ship and the canal are available.
Indeed, they do. And we actually found another excellent item in Volcano, the Excalibur for Final Fantasy Randomizer. That is promo locked behind that fighter becoming a knight, but that could bring endgame gear. It's not going to get extra value against Chaos, but against everything else, it has full elemental bonuses.
And another interesting thing picked up, that was a Mobius crest coming out of Earth Cave as well. Mobius crest potentially required for dock access to finish the Mystic Quest game. And that is also the crest that has the most warps tied to it. So that is a huge pickup out of Earth as well. So this Earth dive, pretty big, honestly, on the side of Fried Tenancity. So despite potentially being down those bombs, they are making a lot of progress on the Final Fantasy randomizer side.
Yep, that's one of the huge things about Archipelago. One play or one game might not be giving the exploration value that the other one does for either side. It is somewhat the tale of two teams playing the same thing, doing different things, and I mean, gotta love it.
Yeah, Divergence be thy name, and in this particular case, it all just was predicated on exactly one check in Pazuzu's tower. A lot of folks forget that there are two Sphere Zero checks in Pazuzu's tower, right on that third floor balcony, where Pazuzu would be staring at you in vanilla. You just kind of, hang a right around the corner, hang a left around the corner, and you can kind of wrap around and get to those two boxes. So again, that's been the difference here, is just those things. And we see the Excalibur also now being found for the Mystic Quest player. So Excalibur is on both sides there. And also the Gemini crest has been located in the Ice Pyramid. So all three crests are known, which is really nice. That saves at least one, possibly two hints late game, because now we can just go through and figure out where our warps go. That's really huge for the Mystic Quest players. And speaking of as well, the Sand Coin and Ice Pyramid. So that's more kind of fractured progression where Volcano and Ice have value, and the Ice Pyramid has value. Just lots of value spread out through this seed for both teams.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
As you said, with all those crests, that's substantially making up for the bombs as far as places you can go. Still haven't found the rod though, so Potato will have to exit out, but he has the tele magic on that red mage. Meanwhile, Mechlin has made it all the way through Volcano, has the red D chest to check, and then see what is behind the Fiend of Fire. Ooh, that's the wrong eye.
Yikes.
It hits hard, it gives basically no golden experience, and it's literally the last enemy you would face before going back in time.
Yeah,
Weird that an Earth Elemental's in Volcano, but it's not a red D. Get the IP or AP item, nothing special.
And one of the cool things you can do on the Mystic Quest side, there are only 3 vendors you really have to worry about. One in Fireburg for 500 gold, one in Windia for 300, and one in Aquaria for 200. You can take your gold up to those vendors, save beforehand, buy the item if it's an AP item, and then just reset. If it is your own, like Sky Fragment, the count gets a little wonky on it. But if it's an item for your teammate, then you'll be able to go through and just kind of reset that, get your gold back, and be able to kind of take the same money to give to each vendor and just reset. Really cool little bit you can do there to save your money. And there's some mega grenades coming out of the Earth Cave Vampire floor. The incentive check. Mega grenades are also a required key item. So Earth Cave is pretty much hard required in this one. Not really going to be able to get out of that.
Indeed, but that unlocks even more. That balances out exploration with the explosives. So 10 and Potato have a substantial advantage potentially, unless that black mage hidden behind bubbles can give Mechlin a substantial advantage. Still has Ice Cave to go to after this before would even think to go to Earth, you can only imagine.
Yeah, it's going to be a situation where at some point Hitox is going to need to hint, because they're going to just simply run out of things to do. Um, I would imagine that's going to happen after a lava dome dive. There's not all that much left. I guess you can do this as well. Winter Cave requires a bomb and a claw, but this is only like 7 or 8 boxes, so it's pretty unlikely this is going to have the answer. Just
They
real
did
interesting.
just get the cat's claw, so
Yeah, and based on what they've seen so far, I guess actually having a claw now does open up the rest of Ice Pyramid, but are they really going to want to go all the way back up that right now? That would be very interesting to see if we get a full double dip of a non-mirror Ice Pyramid. The mirror allows you to see the enemies in the way, otherwise they're invisible. That's just not a very alluring thing to me as a Mystic Quest runner.
And Mechlin, meanwhile, lost the fighter, lost the red mage, wipes out against Bubbles. She had Cure 3, which that's just kind of cruel to find a fiend with cure, a base fiend with a high-powered cure spell.
Yeah, you're just not outputting enough damage to really bust through that. So it kind of makes sense that that might be a struggle point. But, it was what, a black mage, you said,
Yes, it was
behind
it
there?
was a
So
black mage.
not the end of the world, not ideal, but if it was, let's say, like a black belt, and then you just wanted to force black belt strats, that might be a much bigger deal.
Yeah, the big thing with the Black Mage is knowing that there's magic that you cannot otherwise get, even promoted, like that fast that's locked behind level 5 in promotion.
Mhm.
But regardless, looks like a Venus shield was picked up. That is huge, and an exit book.
Yeah, the exit
So
book honestly is a really big one because that means that we can go ahead and leave. Not that this Tristram is bad, but we can leave Tristram for Phoebe, who has a magic stat that's roughly a third again higher than Tristram's. So if Flare is going to do 2,000 for Tristram, it's going to do like 2,600 for Phoebe. It's a dramatic difference just because of how good Phoebe is. So that'll be interesting to see if we know where Phoebe is to pick up, but that makes her kind of the be all end all for this group here.
yeah. And on the other side, Ten's picking up an arrow book. That is high level power.
Yeah, Arrow is the best of the bad spells, I suppose, or not bad per se, but the spells that aren't Flare and Holy, or White and Meteor. So Arrow's kind of the next best thing. It can, with a good magic character, absolutely carry, but already having Flare available and White, it's not going to be used too much. We do see an Excalibur picked up in the Volcano as well for Fried Tenacity, so we are even on the Excalibur for the FFR runners now, and doesn't look like there's too much so far in Ice, but we shall see if something more develops there. Oh, I guess nope, that was the ship for Fried Tenacity. Yeah, we already
Yep.
know about that.
Yeah, Mechlin using the warp that's on that fighter, or the red mage, I should say, to warp trick in ice, which allows you to back your way up the drop down and get all 3 of the chests without having to interact with either the trap tile that would normally be the eye or the trap tile that normally the mages. Very handy trick. Something you wish you could do in the vanilla game, but unfortunately, again, you're well past this point when you get warp.
Yeah, you don't get the cool spells in vanilla until after they'd be useful.
Ordeal's another very good example of that for anyone who didn't know the Pillar Maze growing up. Agama found. That is a potential grind spot. Oh, never mind. Instant death Agamas. Not so potential grind spot.
Yeah, I mean, if a ribbon pops up, it's probably fine, or a couple ribbons. But yeah, it's that there probably are better things available somewhere.
We found gold bracelets. I believe they were for sale with gold +3 earlier, but we still haven't seen pro rings, which would be the insta-death protection.
And we do see Hatox exiting out after opening up the Lava Dome Hydra. So there's a switch that you have to open to be able to get in the door, and that's what Hitox had done there. Also saw this was a red chest, a mask. Mask is functionally useless. It can be used in the volcano, not the lava dome where he currently is, but the volcano, which is where Medusa is. Just kind of a thing that allows you to see where enemies are, but really doesn't do a whole lot. So kind of a dead pickup, but a pickup nonetheless.
Sounds like Flash in original Pokemon. You can
Pretty
just go
much.
wherever you go because you know where you're going. Mechlin, not having to go through the drop down, can exit this floor, get the 3 chests, or the 2 chests in the first rooms, the 4 chests before the drop down, and then just walk out or exit out either way. So it'll be in and out of ice in one shot, barring horrible consequences.
And also worth noting, this lava dome does have a particularly interesting item in it, and that would be the loot. That is required for the FFR runner. So I believe on the FFR side, they just need a key and a bunch of shards, technically speaking, for go mode.
Indeedly do. Technically, because the best way to get shards might very well be kill fiends. The first 2 fiends, Earth and Fire, are worth 2 shards. The second, or the third and fourth fiends, the Sky and Sea, are worth 4 shards. And those are also in dungeons with have tons of chests that could also be shards. So we may see them having to fetch up those dungeon access items, the rod, the oxyale, the chime, and the cube, just to be able to get down there, get the shards they need, whether it's killing bosses or not.
And this is interesting. Ten found the wake water and immediately said, you know, I'm just gonna go and I'm going to pop down here and do these wake water checks. So that's pretty interesting that he's opting to just do this immediately. It's not a common thing to just send it, unless maybe he knew what was going to be down there. Not really certain on that. I guess we do have a hint for floater, though. I see now.
Yep, unfortunately, the way the tracker set up, each team knows the floater was hinted, but we don't get to see where it says it is. And we also see the Dragon Claw requested.
Yeah, having access to the Dragon Claw would open up a lot. Would open up the tree. It would open up the rest of Pazuzu's tower. It would open up Mount Gale. Just a lot of things. Plus, it's naturally just a required item for Go mode. We don't have an axe, but we do see some red boxes that are tree locked there. So at some point, our runners may also want to hint for an axe. While we see Hatox is, going through this lava dome, running into a lot of kind of nasty ninjas here, but Tristram is fast enough and has flair and should just be able to dispatch these pretty easily.
Mechlin with some levels coming back to end the Karib Gator box that wiped him earlier, as Tato is on his way to looks like going to pick up his ship, which evidently would spawn in Canaria, I believe? Depending on where the ship was the ship in Volcano, or was the ship was in Earth, was it not? So that would be to Canaria.
Yeah, I think no matter what, it goes to Canaria in AP. I don't think it ever goes to like Elfland or anything like that, where you'd see that interaction more in typical FF1 play, but I think it always goes outside of Canaria in this.
That makes sense. Doesn't have the inherent logic of the randomizers to say the ship has to be in an inner sea location normally accessible with the vanilla map. So, well, that is our first access to the open oceans. At this point, you've got the canoe, you've got the ship. Ordeals is a pretty logical play. You also have access to warp. And we also have the Northwest Docks on, so we could see a quick dive to Bahamut. In fact, I'd say Bahamut now. You've got to make it through the Hall of Dragons, but you've got the tail, you've got an X-Cal.
Yeah, I think you give that a shot. And maybe check a couple freebies, things like that. Find out what town is here. Maybe go to the waterfall as well. But I don't hate checking the town because it is town shuffle. So we see that this is Lefane, I believe. Um,
This is
no, excuse me, this
Bravoka
is Bravoka. Yeah, with the pirates. I always
and
get
level
the
2
entrance
magic, which
confused there.
is, yeah, the level 2 magic's probably the more important thing, because pirates are one check. But if they get something good, say they find life or something, maybe find that temper. We know where fast is, but we haven't seen temper. Then again, I say that when we know that Potato's already got 4 swords with temper on them. He doesn't really need it. There's a shop item, AP item for $42.99. And that is the ruby. Nope, the ruby
Nope,
and the rod for the other side.
just a sky fragment, but still, certainly worth.
That is excellent routing timing for Mechlin. He was already in the area, so he can go get the check with Sarda, check the 4 chests there in Titans, and then full dive Earth. That's actually going to route out pretty well compared to Potato, who dove Earth pre-rod lock and had to exit out.
Yeah, it's going to be particularly interesting to see what the character is because at this point, Lich is absolutely dispatchable. The vampire can be cleaned out. It's not going to be a problem for Mechlin at all to go through and just kind of clean out all of Earth. The big question is just going to be, do they go after Lich or whatever fiend is cosplaying today? Or do they just opt to kind of leave with that tele magic and keep everything they have if maybe they don't feel strong enough to take on whatever fiend is there? So that's kind of what I'm curious about. I think they'll take it on, but always an interesting decision branch that has to be made there.
Oh, big find. Last in. Floater coming from Pazuzu's tower, first floor, along with the TNT. So that is sky access plus a turn-in item that takes you towards the dwarf armory. So if you get the key before that, you can get another few chest checks. Honestly, if I were Mechlin, I would consider going to get the floater sooner than later.
Yeah,
But you're
you can.
already here. Why run around an entire continent?
Well, because you can just come back here anyway and be in the air. So I don't hate grabbing floater and then maybe even on the way, like hinting for key and doing all of those things. Do we know, like, have we hinted on the last inside to know that there is 1 or 2 things down here of value? It may have happened already. I'm not sure because the hints are a little hard to track.
Well, at this point, they actually know that there has to be something here because they've already checked every single other place they can on the entire inner sea continent.
Mm,
In fact, they checked Sarda and Titans, which Potato could not do because he did not have the ruby. So even more knowledge than Potato had.
gotcha. Yeah, so if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, this is probably a full rod, uh, excuse me, a full earth dive and just kind of go from there. While that floater is nice to have, it also means that realistically, outside of checking what Cardia Isles easier and the 2 towns where Gaia and Lefane would be, floater's not really giving them a ton because of how much they've already accomplished.
Indeed, the big advantage as ever with the floater is encounter bypass. There
Of
is no
course.
encounters in the sky. And you can do save manipulation, save soft reset or hard reset, and skip battles, but that's still menu timing and actions that are taken.
Yeah, the less time spent doing something other than progressing, the better. So definitely a benefit to the runners to be able to do that. We see Dark and Scorch coming out from these wolves. Not particularly pleasant. Looks like we are getting some casting here. on Mecklen's side. Oh dear. These wolves, though, giving Mechlin a business.
Aye, this is not an Oslaughto seed. We are not expecting to see horrifying wolf packs. But Mechlin resetting out, I mean, that fighter is his primary damage dealer. He does not want that to go down. He wants to get levels on it. Meanwhile, Potato out of the out of the Onrak continent, trying to figure out where to go. It doesn't look like they're going towards ordeals. They don't have the floater, I believe, so checking this Lefane, because that's what's at Crescent.
Or maybe just opting to go this route into Volcano and Ice, or whatever is left of it.
It's an interesting docking location, but if you assume that, hey, maybe the floater is in here, park at the lower option. But I mean, if you're going to Ice and you went past the shorter entrance, it's just an interesting choice.
Yeah, I think there's a major thing to note there as well. I don't remember if we touched on it earlier, but this particular matchup is very intriguing because you have two incredibly experienced veteran Mystic Quest runners in Hatox and Ten, and then you have two ducklings in Potato and Mechlin. So it's very interesting that you have this kind of dichotomy of very experienced players on one side and relatively new players on the other side. Quite simply, it may be a situation where Potato just might not know better, or might be doing something a little bit different than we're used to simply based on inexperience. It's tough to say exactly.
Yeah. Well, as a duckling in the randomizer community itself, I totally understand. And while that was going on, the Venus Key and the Herb being picked up by Hatox, that's excellent value and another check for Mechlin. And we see our first boss fight, it looks like, from Tens. We are seeing is a Hydra.
Yeah, we also see Potato is sitting where the floater would be. But we know that the floater is in Pazuzu's tower, so if Potato is waiting for the floater, this is going to be quite the wait.
Yeah, I can only imagine there are some interesting thoughts going on. If I were Potato and I were thinking I had to wait for something, you've got the ship, the canoe, and the tail. You can try promotion, you can try ordeals.
Yeah.
So, interesting situation. Meanwhile, Mechlin through the vampire on into the Earth Armory and Lich's closet floor. Finds double eye in a box. That is juicy experience. Unfortunately, this is not that many. Ooh, mute touch eyes. Well, that's just annoying, but swords. Swords fix that. Poke the eye. This is juicy experience because the eyes are worth a good amount, but they do not have a lot of items yet. Scent of items with the with these flags are 5% experience scaling per incentive item, so it makes a big difference. And a bottle for fried tenacity, but key for the last in. That is huge. That is the go mode effectively for Mechlin. He just needs the shards and levels.
Yeah, and not only is it go mode, but it also opens up, 25-ish extra checks. So I don't know exactly how many the key opens, but it's a lot. So that's a lot of potential access to additional shards or gear or, other AP items that you might not have to hint for. So that key is a pretty massive pickup. That just went over to Mechlin. So it's still really difficult to kind of, figure out who's in the lead and who's doing what. But I think I like the last in's position a little bit better here now, given kind of how things have played out.
I would agree. You've got access to a fiend fight. You'll get your potential third character. You've got floater, you've got the key and the TNT. As said before, if you got that TNT and you got the key, you are right there to loot the Dwarven Armory. And since they have warp and exit, it's an easy reset, either reset out or warp out, either way. There's the Rod and Ruby for Potato, but Potato is literally standing on the desert spot for the floater pop.
Yeah, this is really, yeah, it's very interesting because Potato got there about the 39-minute mark. This floater, by the end of this, I mean, we're probably looking at like the 43.5-minute mark, maybe even 44-minute mark. Like, we're talking about 3.5 or 4 minutes of kind of inaction here, which is, I mean, the better part of, I would say, ordeals can be done in that time.
Oh, most definitely, especially when you have access to warp to pull back. And we have our first party member pickup. It is a thief. Or is that a black belt? I'm not familiar with Mecklen's sprites.
I think that was a black belt.
The color scheme makes me think thief. Man, looking at that armor and equipment, Mechlin is actually fairly well set, even pre-promotion.
Yeah, with alt fiends though, and knowing that one of them is Bubbles, and well, if you saw what Bubbles did to Mechlin in the last race, Mechlin's gonna want to promote here just in case. Bubbles was the pop-off queen in the last seed, regularly hitting for 1,000 or 1,100 damage. It was rather nightmarish what that Bubbles did to Mechlin.
Indeedly do. And there is the floater. That is sky access. We see Gaia is actually on rack, so that is where C is located. Now, Potato going through the Cardia Isles. He's got the tail, but he's going through the Cardia Isles themselves to get the treasures. Probably doesn't want to deal with the Hall of Dragons, but I mean, you've got the tail. You kind of want to go there. Especially if you just got a dragon sword. Oh, nope, sorry, that was on the other team.
I mean, maybe it's a situation where we want a little more in the way of levels, but like if that's the case, a small grind, not too big of a grind, but a small grind might have been in order before this. So it's just kind of an interesting sequence. I'll be very curious to ask about, post game. The things that transpired on Friday Tenancity's end the last couple minutes.
Yeah, and Mechlin out of Earth Cave only needs 5 shards to be ready for Topher. This is crazy because that is, I mean, that's a clear of part of Sky, let alone actually getting the kill. Same with C. But that being said, Mechlin does not have the Oxiale, the Chime, or the Cube. So there is no access to any more Fiend dungeons at this point.
Yeah, so losing out on those different Fiends, that is a little bit rough for sure. That's guaranteed shards that are no longer in the pocket. So we'll definitely see where we go on last inside and see what, Mechlin decides their best route for shards might be.
There is a Chime hint request from Fried Tenacity wanting to get access to Mirage. Even if you don't get the cube to get into Sky, Mirage Tower, you've got 18 chests or something like that between floors 1 and 2. So excellent value, high density. And a hint for an axe of some sort, or battle axe from the last inn. Getting access to that last bit of mobility to unlock more places to get items.
Yeah, and that axe pretty much would open up like the giant tree and a couple checks in the forest, the level forest. So not too much. that it would unlock, but it would be probably enough to get all of the shards that are required. We see Potato on their continue screen. Oh, they're hinting right now. Okay.
Yep, getting a hint for the cube. Gonna go to Ice Cave. Looks like they had not finished Ice Cave before. Meanwhile, Mechlin gets in the air and is gonna start checking lock checks. Going for Canary, you got 6 checks here. There's 3 checks at Toph. You've got another 7 boxes or so in in Dwarves, 3 boxes in Northwest Castle, 4 boxes at Elfland Castle, and then there are 3 boxes in Marsh that I highly doubt we'll see him dive. And of course, all of the mermaids, because we have locked the mermaids in the cages they belong in. Somehow Bubbles got out.
I was going to say, how did Bubbles get where Bubbles got? But at the same time, will Bubbles be, I guess, carbonated is the right word for it. And how many Bubbles will be carbonated?
Well, they're going to have to carbonate at least 1 because she will be standing in the way of progression in Topher. We see an Oxale picked up and a Chime across either side, so C is now available for Mechlin. That is the final shards that he will need. Just killing Kraken is worth the 4 shards that'll finish off his requirements, plus get access to a potential 4th character. No, he just needs 5, so 1 shard plus Kraken.
Yeah, and on the Mystic Quest side, we are looking for the, this is on the last inside, looking for the Captain's Cap would be the primary item, because we already have Mega Grenades, we have Dragon Claw, we have Thunder Rock, we have Mobius Crest and Libra Crest. So unless the Gemini Crest holds the dock access, the only thing we really need on Last Inside is just that Captain's Cap. So I'm very curious to see if we get a hint for that at some point as well, because that would kind of be the final thing that's necessary.
I'm honestly shocked Mechlin is even bothering checking any chests on this floor.
It looks like we... Oh, go ahead.
I said, normally you would see beelining straight down to Kraken, and yep, sees that he only needs 4 shards, got that shard on there, so it works out. We see an axe for the last inn, so that is access to all those locations previously disallowed by trees. This is interesting. Mechlin has 4 shards needed, knows that he can go fight Kraken, but is going to go ahead and do promotion ahead of time. I approve, given the fact that they've already gotten X-Cal to swing.
Well, the other thing is, based on learnable spells and based on levels, if you promote earlier than later, you can get more in the way of spell charges on your knight and your other, individuals. So depending on what's available and what level we might be at, it could definitely benefit Mechlin to, make this dive first and then get those levels after and kind of do everything else afterwards. So I kind of like this play. A little bit of bad RNG, though, it looks like, getting through the Hall of Dragons here. We do see that Captain's Cap hint for the last inn. We don't know where it is, but they have now just learned.
There is promotion for Mechlin. Meanwhile, a ribbon gets passed on to Potato. That is excellent armor gear. Gonna check that, get that move around. You say, Mechlin may be in go mode with 4 shards away, but Potato, even after waiting, only needs 6 shards. So this is actually way closer than you might think.
Yeah, Potato also has the unenviable situation, though, of only having 2 characters. That is not desirable. We have Mechlin, who is at a minimum going to have 3 characters, but probably 4 by the end of C, assuming that it is in fact um, the Kraken boss or whoever might be there cosplaying as Kraken, that will be the fourth character. Even if it's like, a second fighter, that's cool or whatever. Um, any warm body would be great to just, do some things with temper sticks and things like that.
Most definitely. Wanting the bodies just to be able to use equipment to buff the primary damage dealer or stack extra layers of evasion. It just kind of works that way. Mechlin out with promotion, has dragon armor, has pro cape, has shields and armor and gear, all sorts of things. Sadly, the dragon armor and the opal both rolled down -3, but I mean, you got an opal shield that rolled down as well. Vanilla opal gauntlets or +1 opal. It's just weird.
I see +3 flame armor might just be a decent play there as well instead of the -3, dragon armor or opal. I don't know exactly how it all plays out, but I know like anything +3 is pretty good, and flame armor is good to start.
Yes, but the flame armor is promotion accessible by that ninja. So
Mm.
ice shield +3, flame armor +3 makes that ninja that much more protected from both fire and ice magic. And there's a cube for her for fried tenacity, so that's actually access to sky. That's access to 4 more shards. That's access to all the chests. That could be the go mode access that Potato needs.
Yeah, and we see last in hinting again for the captain's cap. So it might have been a situation where they've tried to hint for it before and didn't have enough hint points. The way that it works is you're only ever going to get 10 hints, and you get that by doing 10%. Every hint is 10% of the available treasures in your seed. So it's quite possible that this was just a situation where Hatox on Last Inside just needed more boxes to be opened in order to hint for that captain's cap. And based on going through the tree, I mean, the tree has a lot of boxes in it, but this may be a situation where, the cap could very well be here, or maybe there's something up here like a masa that we hinted and we just didn't see. It's very curious because it's a great place to loot and open up a lot of boxes, but it's not necessarily progression and not a place you really want to go because of how long a walk it is, unless there's something really desirable here.
Ooh, that is huge. The Sky incentive chest had that captain's cap. Potato picks it up and then exits, does not continue on through Sky. Looks like
Hmm.
Potato is gonna go, I'd say Cardia promote, but no, gonna check Sarda. Still hasn't checked Sarda, did not have the ruby before.
That's really interesting, getting that cap first. I mean, Hatox and Mechlin, I believe, know where it is now, but do they know where Chime is? Do they have Chime?
They do not have Chime to my knowledge. They do have... Yep. Oh, they do have the Chime. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that still puts Mechlin and Hatox in the driver's seat. But it looks, I mean, this is still very close.
Yeah. Interesting. Potato checking the Hall of Giants. There are 2 different trap tile encounters here. They're the same in the vanilla game, but since there are 2 instances of trap tiles, we actually shuffle them up and you can get 2 different encounters. There's also the top trap tile, but not bothering to check that. Just wanted to see if there was a grind available. Gonna go ahead and fight down and deal with the 2 shards and the fiend fight here at the bottom of Earth.
And where is that going to put him on shards now? Is that going to put him 4 away, or have they picked up a few more since, if you've been able to notice?
I believe they'll still be at 4 away. If not, it would be 3. Because last I
Okay.
saw, he needed 6.
And of note, the Libra Temple, Mobius Crest Warp, is dock access. So we have on 10's side Cap, Rock, Mega Grenade, I think he has the Dragon Claw, even though it's not marked, and he has Dock Access. So if he has the fragments, I think Ken is then in go mode. And it would just be a matter of what are some of the things that Potato needs, and where does Ten go to find them. Yeah, this is still really interesting because I think Potato is looking at potentially two-manning this based on what's going on here.
Well, if he gets his final shards by taking out the Lich analog, then he would be picking up a third. But
True.
even then, the 3-man versus the 2-man, or making it a 2-man, that would be interesting. I would be all for it. Interesting. Potato hinting for the Oxyale. Meanwhile, across the other side, we're seeing a hint for the Power Gauntlet.
Yeah, the Power Gauntlet was basically the last addition to the flag set. It was well, I guess we're going to have to do something to mitigate the potential issue of alt fiends kicking the crud out of, relatively underpowered parties. Maybe you don't have access to fast or temper. Maybe you don't have access to some sort of big weapon. So this is a way to allow an alternate path to still defeat the fiends in chaos. So that's a nice thing that was added in to make sure that the power bonk, as everyone lovingly calls it, is accessible for the runners.
Yes, and as was pointed out by Woobear in chat, because of this flag with the recruiting, they are running the Nuns Gain Experience flag, which means having a 2-man does not double the experience on that party, because they're not sharing it with the non-existent players, because the non-existent players characters do get the experience. So
True.
that's makes the 2-man substantially less optimal. And we already know that Potato has 4 temper sticks and wants the meat to waggle them. Meanwhile, Gaia armor picked up for him by his teammate.
Yeah, Gaia armor, very nice. Gives wind resistance, water resistance, sleep resistance. Pretty nice pickup, and also gives lightning resistance. So Gaia armor, quite a nice pickup there. Very good defensive gear.
And on the other side, a Masa. So very, very good sword. That pretty well gives the endgame kit for Mechlin. The Masa can be used by the ninja with the X-Cal on the knight. There we go, is the captain's cap for Mechlin to talk. So I'm honestly shocked Mechlin is continuing searching. He's got Shard Go, just has to deal with the Fiend. Or if he feels he has only so many shards he needs, he might just be going for loot rather than Fiend fight.
Yeah, it may also be a situation where, there could just be something else up here. Maybe doesn't have enough hint points remaining, but wants to check out the rest of what is here. Play it a little bit safe rather than, just kind of push.
Indeedly do. Full clear, loot goblining. We all understand it.
I mean, some of it also, again, the matchup of the FFR side here with Potato and Mechlin is, again, with them both being ducklings, how much experience do they have with 2- and 3-person parties? Where nuns are also gaining XP, as, you have so astutely mentioned and chat has mentioned, is that level of comfort there? Who knows? Only our runners are going to know that. So this could just be a matter of I want to try to find as much stuff as I can in order to get as strong as I can, because I'm not comfortable with this team.
Fried Potato is in go mode. Picked up those 2 shards for dealing with the Lich analog, in this case the Evil Elf. Gonna check a few more places, get some gear, it looks like, and wants to get levels. Really hoping they think to promote, because oh my word, do they have enough gear to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think promoting would be wise here. Also, I think that is a yeah, that's only 70 HP, so we did not heal before going after these monster boxes. That could be a little bit spooky. Uh, those red dragons on Mecklen's side shouldn't be too bad. We see Hitox making their way through, not having a sun coin, oddly enough. So, do we have a warp over to the Windia area, I wonder? Because we do have to at some point launch the boat in order to progress. And I did not catch if Hitox was able to warp over at any point to the Windia area on the Mystic Quest side there.
Well, I did not see that either, but I did see Mechlin is full sharded up, does not need to take out the Tia analog. Uh, so it's a choice to take it. Gonna continue searching for items. Personally, at this point, if I were Mechlin, if my teammate didn't need any more items, I would go take on the Tia analog, check what that fourth character is, and even if you see the fourth character is something you don't want, just reset away.
Yeah, I think in this case we just may not have enough points for the Sun Coin. And so
Boxes for points.
Mechlin may just be opening everything possible to see if maybe there's a Sun Coin available that Hitox can get without having to hint for. It's very interesting. We see Hitox is going through and is going to find their dock access here. Oh, they've already launched the boat. Okay, so they don't have any issue even without having the Sun Coin. It looks like they did have warp access in some manner. What are our levels here? Level 18 is perfectly fine. And yeah, we see 10 is sitting here waiting for an axe from Potato in order to do something. I'm not certain what is here, but it might be something for... I guess maybe Potato getting an axe for 10 to get something for Potato. Where was the key? Do we remember?
I do not recall exactly where the key was. I do know that Mechlin going to Ordeals makes no sense.
Let's see, what are we potentially missing?
As far as endgame goal items, on either side, I don't think there is anything that's missing.
Yeah, we have everything on Hitox's side.
Mechlin gets a fast Ordeals. That's actually quite handy in this situation. Maybe Mechlin just wants to find a good tile to grind that isn't Agamas with instant death magic.
Potato is at a standstill, and 10 is dancing with trees.
At least he's not kicking chickens. Oh wait, no, that's Zelda.
Well, there is a chicken kind of sitting right there, though. We see a reset from Potato. I wonder if we were maybe on the wrong side of C, or what is going on here for a potential axe, I suppose.
It is a question that we will have to ask. For the moment, Ordeals has been cleared out by Mechlin. Gets to see a white dragon, not gonna care, gonna cut it down. The Katana or the Excal not doing much, but the Masa finishing the job up.
And worth noting as well on the last inside, Masa was picked up also. That was coming out of level forest, so the axe gives the Masa. So maybe that's part of what 10 was waiting for as well. In order to get the Masa for Potato, an axe was required. So it could be a number of different things that are are needed there. Looks like a ribbon also was picked up from Ordeals.
As ever, the best armor, even if it rolled down, but in this case, they rolled +3.
So we see Northwest Castle for Mechlin, and I think Hatox is ready to go. Yeah, Hatox is entering Doom Castle, so we get a bit of a boss rush here. This is going to be a 4-boss refight, so very similar to Final Fantasy Randomizer, where you fight the 4 fiends. This is going to be the Skullurus Rex, which is the Flamerus refight, the Stone Golem, which is the Ice Golem refight, the Dual Head Hydra, which is the Twin Head Wyvern refight. I might have those backwards. And then the Z fight, which is Pazuzu's older brother, oftentimes meaner brother, and sometimes the final boss of the Seed, not actually Dark King. Or this may have just been a dive for a couple boxes on Hatox's side. Yeah, so exiting out of Doom Castle there. I'm very curious what it is that we are so dead set on Last Inside here.
There's some considerable prep going on.
Yeah, I have to imagine this is just a byproduct of, again, Mechlin and Potato being ducklings and relatively new or new-ish to the randomizer, but also knowing that it's all fiends and having to deal with potentially a 3-person party. But I would think if that's the case, maybe just go into Volcano and beat Carrie real quick. And pick up a character there. It's what, no more than a 2-minute dive, right?
Yeah, it is one of the fastest dives possible, given the fact that you can walk on the lava tiles, which are completely unencounterable.
Yeah.
So if you have a reasonably long hero run off the front or off a reset, you could go unencountered all the way there. I did notice Mechlin, when he went to Ordeals, actually landed the airship, got back into the boat, and then rode over there on the high seas. It's actually kind of faster to get there on the boat with the speedboat than it is to land and then walk through the desert and trees to get to Ordeals.
That makes sense. It's a nice heads-up move there. Being able to kind of flex some of that knowledge.
Gonna go ahead and pick up magic, getting full prepped. Picking up Lock 2, which will cut down on evasion on targets, which could be very valuable if you only have a few fast casts, because we have not gotten that high level fast. We are stuck with the 2 casts that are available. Oh wait, no, those were fast casts on a previous seed from the earlier shenanigans. Never mind, they don't have access to fast at all. It is level 5 promotion locked, which, if they get a black mage, will be fine, but they don't have one yet.
We see Matoya.
Evil, confused lich who can't see without her ball.
Yeah, and she's not getting it back.
Now I've just combined in my head Velma and Matoya.
Jinkies.
Just imagine Velma and Matoya both on the ground crawling. Velma is looking for her glasses and Matoya is looking for her crystal ball, and they bump into each other. Totally perfect. It's in your head and you will not be able to unsee it in your mind.
Or I can just put my glasses down and just, not see it in the first place.
Liberal uses of those temper swords to get that fighter up and running. Has a Masa, so should be able to do quite a bit of damage if it's equipped. That's not the Masa being swung, it doesn't look like.
No, but with enough tempers, you can kill Chaos with a short sword. That's the lore that I have heard.
That is true. We've seen Chaos killed with dagger
+4
or axe +4 or anything else. Okay, well, it looks like a black belt was hidden behind the Sea Fiend. So I doubt we're going to ever see that ground up to be a punch cannon. But that is a 4-man crew fully set up for Potato. Is Potato finally going to? Yes, Potato is finally going to go promote.
Yeah, and shouldn't have too much of an issue here. Looks like he was also burning off an encounter there. We'll see if he can run away. Yeah, getting some runs here. Unfortunately, some zombie dragons. Now, the 4-pack of zombie dragons, that's a pretty good encounter if I remember right. But we might still be able to gain a spell charge or two on like the knight here or something. So maybe opting not to do any fights. I have no idea what the level situation though is and if there's even charges to be gained.
Yeah, I think he's in the low 20s, so he's definitely not going to get the first early levels. Levels start accruing on the fighter / the knight and the ninja at level 15, and then every other level after that.
Okay. So I see level 19, I think, for Potato there. So still can pick up a couple of charges there. You know, even one charge could be huge. Um,
Most definitely, with that life that was available low end
yeah.
at level 3, life 2.
And we had chat speculating that maybe Hatox needed some more sky fragments on their end. That could certainly have been the case. Maybe he was trying to get some cheeky fragments out of Doom Castle. And that might have been why Mechlin was doing so much of what they were doing as well. It's, you know, very interesting to see kind of how these things transpire. But we do have Hatox in Doom Castle doing their boss rush, and we have Mechlin doing spell shopping, so they may be just about ready to go as well. We're going to have 10, it looks like, is doing some crest warping. I don't know if maybe he forgot that Libra Temple had his dock access, or might be looking for some other warp of some sort. Potato, meanwhile, going to Northwest Castle here, and maybe also looking for shards in various places. So, excuse me, sky fragments. So it could be a situation where both teams got kind of sky fragment locked. But we do see Mechlin now getting to the evil elf. This is replacing, I want to say this is Lich.
Indeedly do. This is the speed bump spot. We always joke that he's a speed bump because the randomizer changes him up a little. But for anyone who played the original game and you remember that he opens up with Nuke, you go, why do you laugh at this character? Oh, there is a Masa suddenly showing up as being sent over. I thought we already had that for the last inn.
Yeah, I thought they got that quite a while ago. I think it would be new for Fried Tenacity, but for Last In, I thought they got that 15-20 minutes ago.
Well, the Masa being swung there did a whole lot of damage with that fighter, so...
But alas, we're getting some progress here. The Hydra itself in this fight is immune, not immune, but resists fire, and Flare is a fire spell. It is weak to arrow, though, and it will take full damage from meteors. So, going to be using arrow here with the main character. And yeah, there goes that Hydra. So 3 of the refights are down already for Hatox, 1 down for Mechlin. So looks like we are quite substantially ahead on the last inside here.
Big worries, Bubbles just fasted herself, but the Knight with fast and temper, 883. Oh, Cure 4. Oh, that's mean.
Honestly, you're fine with that. It's scary in the moment, but it means Chaos doesn't have it.
Indeedly do. That, I mean, the Holy Lady of Carbonation gets diced and sliced to ribbons, but,
that was 1,000, yeah, 798 damage. Bubbles ain't walking that one off, Chief.
On to the Matoya refight. He's looking pretty blue.
Yeah, and Zud not posing much of a threat for Hatak, just kind of chewed right through. Zud oftentimes is the final boss on these seeds. A lot of the time is more devastating than the Dark King, or whoever is cosplaying as Dark King, as that is a really cool feature of the Mystic Quest side that gets randomized. But we'll see who Dark King is on Hatak's side. Once we get to tier 3, we'll see how thick this Dark King is. And see basically what it has to offer for abilities. Maybe we get a Rude Dark King for a change.
And speaking of thick, this Matoya took a 1200 plus damage hit there, but is cleaned up, and with 3 men up, Mechlin on his way to fight the Air Fiend as Potatoes into Topher as well, about to fight himself a evil elf lord.
Alright, I am calling them pickled tentacles from now on. Okay, what is Vamakali from? I have to ask.
I know that Kali is the Hindu goddess, so evil Hindu goddess, I guess.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was a video game reference of some sort or an alternate version of Carrie, mythologically. There we go. Thank you, chat. And we see Dark King being kind of rude here with some, I believe, sky attacks there, doing 500 plus damage. But we have Cure, we have Tristram. Tristram's fast. The Cure has come out. And we are going to have, I believe this is Mechlin getting into, well, at least the Chaos Floor. There are still encounters on the Chaos Floor. Has to actually get there first. But we also see Fried Potato on Bubbles, and 10 is on the Hydra refight. So we are pretty close. I would say if Mechlin wipes here, that opens the door for Fried Tenacity, but Mechlin would have to wipe here. I don't think we're going to have too much of an issue on Hitaxa's side. Haven't seen any reason to be concerned yet, but we do have what I believe is a Terminator sprite here for the Dark King.
Indeedly do, and I did see 10 wipe in that fight and have to restart it, so puts him that much further back. As fast as Mechlin and Tox have been, honestly, this seed has been not slow, not all that slow. We're at 1 hour 20 minutes, and both of the runners are in the final fights.
Okay, that's a nuke from Chaos, though. Spooky times, and that is not a lot of damage. Slow 2 does not land. We're chipping away for about a 250 a clip here. That's a big hit of 445, but that's a wipe. Oh no. That is not what you want to see if you're a Last In fan. That nuke was devastating.
Speaking of devastating, this Matoya freezing away the thief, but the Excal-equipped knight doing the job, bringing Potato onto the Tia floor. Yes, Hitox looks like they're going to be able to clean up this final fight against the Dark King / Terminator, but Tens could easily catch up here and get done before Mechlin can catch up with Potato, and that would count for the win. So it is far from over.
Yeah, the way that it works is it's not who finishes first, it's the team that finishes first. So your second player has to finish before the other team's second player. Realistically, the first player done doesn't matter. And so we see 10 is through Z. That is going to put him onto Dark King next, while Hitox is going to be extremely close to finishing this flare or the next one. I think we're just potentially sending it here. Not quite. It doesn't have the gumption to just rip it there, which I suppose is the safe play. Why be that far into the fight? But looks like this flare here does it. So get your G's out for Hitox from last team in. They are One half of the way done. Now it is simply a matter of can Mechlin dispatch Chaos before Ten and Potato can dispatch Dark King and Chaos, respectively. So now the pressure is on Mechlin to go ahead and get through, because I believe Potato is going to be onward to Chaos after this.
Indeedly do. Got away with the dead or black belt and a stone ninja, but has the softs, has the life 2 cast, just has to get through this vampire whiz vampire zombie pack and on through Chaos War. They were on the same encounter table, so they'll hit the same encounters all the way through. Should be in and ready to fight right now. So just like before on the other side, both final fights for Ten and Potato.
Yeah, we do see the fighter on Potato side also in slot 3. And if I'm not mistaken, the reason for this is to make it so that the fighter gets hit a little less often, although it's not going to matter with Nuke. That is one of the spells that exists in Oh Hello. Right off the rip, the Nuke comes out.
Yes, the probability of hit is roughly at 50% for first slot, 25% for second slot, and then 12.5% for third and fourth. So being in that third slot, it's faster to menu to than the fourth slot, so you can rip through actions faster, and it's less likely to be hit as long as you have party members up in those first 2 slots. It's also supposedly for the possibility of a crit loop, or Zap takes out the ninja, but everyone else survives. The red mage is down, but the knight is what matters. They're going to heal that up. The idea of a loop where hold A and pray gets the same the same damage every time with the same amount of swings, locking Chaos into doing nothing that would hurt you or kill you before it would die.
Gotcha. And we see a Cure 4 come out on Vamakali there as well for Mechlin. Probably not what you want to see, because I believe this was a pretty thick boss. We see Poison come out, and we now have a Stoned Ninja as well. And on Potato side, I believe that is Determination. GG's to Potato getting through for Fried Tenacity. Are they able to pull off this comeback here at the end? But get your G's out for Potato, and let's see if 10 can bring it home for Fried Tenacity.
Yep, 10 has to finish up this final phase of the Dark King fight with the Terminator, as Mechlin has to make his way in and finish up the fight with Chaos. And that is... oh, nope.
Tier 4. So one more tier to go on Dark King here.
The multi-phase sprites that I don't know for sure, plus they're not the normal multi-phase sprites. Honestly, I preferred the Wario from earlier.
Yeah, this one, phase 3 and 4 look very similar, but there it is. There's the flash to crack the boom for 10 and Team Fried Tenacity, pulling it back from the brink of relative extinction in the tournament with that comeback there. So GG's to Team Fried Tenacity. Both runners clutching it out at the end. And Mechlin, that unfortunate chaos wipe because of the nuke, really unfortunately coming back to bite them. Still a heck of a performance, though, by both teams. But let's see if we can get, I guess, probably see if we can just get all the runners in if Mechlin finishes this up soon. We can have kind of a packed house in here.
Indeed. Topher proving to be the great equalizer in the end.
Yeah, looks like we are putting all of our eggs into the fighter basket, which is, not unusual at this stage. Doing about 300 to 400 damage a swing here, and those tempers still rolling out. Kind of just need to dodge. Well, don't need to dodge anything because Chaos didn't dodge anything. That is GG's for last in as well. So what is that? About a minute apart for the two teams. Heck of a race by those two teams. Definitely would love to get to chat with them.
And let's bring them in. We are joined by our runners.
Yeah, GG's to all the runners. Very well run. What a race.
Whoa.
I'm sweating bullets.
Yeah, same. We're all sweaty after that one.
So y'all have had some time to decompress a little bit. Let's kind of, walk it back to the very beginning. We had some tech issues.
4 seeds ago.
Oh, Lord.
Everyone had to deal with the tech issues. The first seed, the second seed, the third seed, and then we figured out don't hard reset if you're playing Mystic Quest. Okay, there we go. Mentally, did that kind of put a wrench into things? Was that unnerving? Was it just disturbing in a sense?
120%, especially when the second seed rolled a black belt black mage start. I got I drank way too much coffee for this and was just all tense, and it definitely was out of sorts when we actually started the race.
Yeah, I was not ready for a black belt black mage start, so I was glad that there was some tech issues there.
It wasn't sad when that seed also broke. I was like, okay. No complaint.
I didn't even check the third party, so I don't even know what the third seed was. But then I saw Knight and Red Mage, and I was like, this is cool. And then I didn't check the blessings. I completely zoned out on checking blessings until I think I was in Provoke a Town. I was finally like, oh, let's see what spells we have here, because we have spells. Oh no!
I forgot about the telemagic for 2 dungeons more than I wanted to, or 2 areas more than I wanted to, but I had the blurting thing literally up behind the thing and was staring at it the whole time, but it took that long to realize. I was like, oh yeah, we have telemagic. It's nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that intro, I was just laughing about the whole thing. I think we probably all were at that point, and so my intro is definitely a little shaky. I don't know about the rest of y'all.
Yeah, same. Not as smooth as I would have wanted to open the seed, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
So a couple of questions. We'll go to Potato and 10 first on this. About the 40-minute mark of the seed, we saw y'all. I guess Potato, you were kind of sitting there in the desert just waiting for Floater while 10 was fighting Hydra, then had to go all the way to Pazuzu's tower and all that to get you your Floater. Was there ever a thought of going and doing something else, doing like an Ordeals dive, going anywhere, going to try to promote, anything like that, or were you just beholden to that Floater?
I wasn't about to try to dive Hall of Dragons at that point after my experience. I did, I cheeky tried to go do Waterfall before all that, and that did not work out, as I'm sure you all saw, where I wiped too many times and just gave up on it. And then I was like, Ordeals didn't appeal to me enough. Ice was where I was tempted to go, but then I honestly had to use the bathroom really bad. So I was like, instead of going to Ice and then having to leave to walk all the way back to where my floater is, I'm just going to sit here at the floater mark. We already knew where enough stuff was that it didn't look like I was gating something vital other than the axes, which turned out to be the case. But we knew we couldn't get them, we couldn't hint for them. So it was like, Floater's going to speed up everything I try to do anyway, so I'm just going to use the bathroom, mentally reset, and that's another thing I took that moment to do, which is sort of clear my brain from the brouhaha beforehand, and came back and just, rocked it. Tried to.
Gotcha. And then for Mechlin and Hatox, about probably the hour mark, maybe hour and 5-minute mark, I forget exactly when it was, Hatox, we saw you go into Doom Castle and open some boxes, and Mechlin, you had all your shards, I believe, and we're still going around opening things. Was there a sky fragment shortage there, or were y'all looking for something particular? We were a little curious about that, as the eyes in the sky, not having ground access to what's actually happening.
I was looking for a shard number 24, or sky fragment number 24.
I probably had 35 shards by that point. I don't know.
Yeah, we were on the FFR side. It was bonkers. I've never seen, I didn't need to kill any bosses for shards, and that's the first time I've run one of these where that was the case.
Yep. So at that particular moment, I mean, and this was like almost meta during the SGL tournament. I went to ship, figuring that there's gonna be boxes there, and so that I just need one shard. I just need one shard to pop up. There's 40 of them, and I couldn't buy a shard on the ship. And then I went to Doom Castle. There's 3 checks there, and I couldn't buy a shard there either. And that's when I hinted for the shard. And the first hint that came up was Mirage Tower, and so that's when Mechlin bailed me out of Mirage Tower.
Yeah, which is
Gotcha.
hilarious because those were the 10 checks that I didn't do while I was in Sky Palace.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The
Thavian
things
Hawk.
you miss.
I was gonna say, any questions for our runners from you, Thavian Hawk?
Honestly, my brain is about melted, as I assume our runners is. So I'm gonna leave it as is.
That is
GG's
completely
to the
fair.
runners.
Yeah, GG's to the runners. Runners, I'll just say floor is yours, and let y'all kind of to go off on your own way. Let's start with 10. We haven't heard much from you. Any final thoughts on the seed or, the tournament? Potentially staying alive at 1-1 now. What are y'all? What's your thoughts right now?
I'm just big chilling possum. That's all I do. That's all I got to say today. Big chilling.
All right, and Potato, who we heard from, who was not big chillin'. Potato, any
Definitely
final
not
thoughts
big
from you?
Too much coffee. Very big thank you to my teammate 10 for mentally helping me pull through that seed. And big props to our opponents for putting up with all the tech nonsense, and the crew, obviously, for putting up with all the stuff that went on and helping us get this working on. I really enjoyed the race. I'm glad it was close. We really wanted a close race. We know each other, the team, so that was very exciting, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the tournament.
Definitely. And Mechlin, we'll start with you from last team in. Any thoughts on the seed or the performances in general, the tournament in general?
I mean, the tech issues was like, okay, this is kind of bogus at first, but then like it just kind of became hilarious. Like I said, the seed was fun to run. I think it was great. I don't know if I routed it well at all. I'd love for somebody to like digest that for me and break apart what I did, because I honestly have no idea what I did during this entire run. We were just all over the place trying to find go mode, and it was a lot of fun. And like, yeah, we wanted a close race, and we sure got a close race. So I just want to say that again, thanks to the crew for coming out. Thanks for putting up with us. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our next game, and I'm pretty sure that we're probably knocked out, but I want to have fun with it because this has been a blast. This is my first AP tournament. I've said that before. I've never done AP before this week, and it's been a huge amount of fun. So I'm looking forward to more of this.
Definitely. And last but not least, Hatox.
Like Mechlin said, this is also my first AP tournament. This is my first experience with AP. And Mechlin's been a super big help. We've been having a lot of fun, and he puts up with my time zone, and both mine and Ten's pushing the hard reset button a few times today. So shout out to SNES, pushing that hard reset in Archipelago. Do it. It'll be lots of fun. Man, this seed was a little bit of a brain stretcher for sure. But I gotta say, like, anytime like we get a good team like Potato and 10, and we know each other from the Mystic Quest tournament, we were hoping in the chat that it was gonna be a good one, and I like to think that with a minute to go, like, they're great guys and they're great opponents. Like, I'll race them again just for fun, just because we know it's gonna be a good one. And
Yeah,
big thanks to everybody staying up super late. You guys, the crew, the comms, the trackers, everybody, for tolerating our circus act for so long.
Well, we couldn't do it without y'all, so thank you again, and GG's to all of our runners this evening. Team Fried Tenacity moving to 1-1. team last in, moving to 0-2, but certainly looking forward to seeing some more great runs from them, in the upcoming round. So thank you again to all four of you for putting on one heck of a show. And I do believe that is going to do it for us tonight. So, Davian Hawk, thank you for keeping me honest up here in the booth. Dark Moon, thank you so much for restreaming. Odron and I believe I can't remember who our other tracker was. Razor One. Yeah, thank you, Razor One. Thank you, everyone behind the scenes for doing the Lord's work here, keeping everything from getting set on fire. So, and last but not least, of course, thank you to RPG Limit Break for allowing us to have this fantastic tournament hosted up here on y'all's channel. Davian Hawk, that's all I got. Anything else you would like to add, my friend?
I would indeed. We do have another race for this event coming up tomorrow. Channel to be determined, but it will be at 2 p.m. Eastern. Either RPG Limit Break or the FFR channel, feel free to stay tuned. We may even have another race at the same time on the Lithanian League, which is kind of a chooser or challenger's choice as far as what the runners run for Final Fantasy Randomizer. That all being said, I am done for the evening. I hope you all have a great evening. Peace.